Today we are vlogging outside in the wonderful outdoors, and I got here just in time to have the sun slightly covered by a layer of ash because of the wildfires, but a lot of that stuff has blown over and it's fairly clear right now. And so we're vlogging with the camcorder at the moment so that I can use the Canon M50 to practice using the kit lens, to which I have learned a lot since my last video. Now, what I want to emphasize at this point is that there's a lot of talk about the kit lens being a vlogging lens. This is probably the most fundamental lens of the group. It has the lowest opening is the f3.5, and which makes it not so great in low light, and that's really what I'm searching for. So I've been learning a lot about lenses since I bought the Canon M50, and here is a look at my particular Canon M50. What I wanted to do was sort of clarify for myself on camera that when we're talking about vlogging, we're talking about a lens that when you have it set on the M50 and you're using a vlogging lens, whether it's the kit lens or the Canon 11-22 or the Canon 22, whichever one, it is going to be a lens that is designed to focus on your face. It's got all the gear and programming inside the camera to focus on your face, and that's what vlogging is. So my mistake or my learning moment was probably in that, as a an amateur filmmaker that I am, I wanted to capture B-roll. I was using the kit lens on a really bright day. I didn't really understand the settings, and then I went back and I did more research, and really what I'm learning is that if you're shopping for vlogging lenses, you're shopping for lenses that are focusing. You're holding the camera and you're looking at yourself. If you're shooting B-roll, you're not using a vlogging lens. You gotta buy a lens that's designed for B-roll. What we're gonna do is we're gonna attempt to use the kit lens as a B-roll lens. Like I want something that's smooth, and when there's jagged points of my footage, I feel like there's something wrong with the settings, or maybe it's just the lens. I don't know, but we're gonna get down to the bottom of shooting B-roll now that I know that there's a significant difference in setting up the camera so that you can vlog as opposed to taking cinematic shots of the world around you, hoping to achieve a different outcome. So one thing I am doing is I'm writing down each shot that I take so that I know exactly what's happening, and we will see which one works best for the kit lens, if any. And this is, of course, B-roll experimentation. So I just shot an auto, and what I'm noticing is that if I have the camera on 30 frames per second, the auto setting will shift and move, and that it tends to violate the rule that, say for instance, the shutter speed is supposed to be double the frames per second. The auto doesn't follow that. So how the footage turns out, I'm not going to know until I get back and upload this stuff. But I find it odd that the auto feature does not adhere to the rule, and so we will learn more about what that all means. In addition, the aperture closed up considerably, whereas on manual I will leave the aperture as open as wide as possible. Right now, I'm vlogging with the Canon EOS M50 in broad daylight, first thing in the morning. I've got the shutter speed on 1/60. I've got the aperture at 5.6, and I'm shooting at 30 frames per second. I've got the ISO on auto, and I have a lens filter on the camera. And when the camera is stationary with the kit lens, as opposed to all the footage that I just finished shooting, what we know for sure is when the kit lens is stationary and it's not moving around, it does a good job of capturing some pretty good images. But I'm going to say it now, since I haven't uploaded the B-roll that I took, and I'm gonna see if there's any of that footage that's even worth anything, because thus far I haven't really seen any footage come out of this kit lens that looks like anything I would even consider using on a video for a film. So, you know, obviously there are lenses to be bought in the future. There's a lot of work to be done. what you're looking at is an old Target stand that I bought a few years back to improve my photography and my ability to take pictures with an old point and shoot that I have. It dawned on me to put this thing to use potentially as a stabilizer for the Canon EOS M50. And the logic follows. I'm trying to distinguish between the jittery motion from holding the camera with my hands and being, you know, whatever may happen in that manner, as opposed to a bad setting, the shutter speed not matching the aperture. And so I disassembled the top of the stand and I used WD-40 and I prepared it for doing a pan shot. And so I went out to the lake, and what we have here is a shot of the camera on the stand, and everything looks really good. Then I begin the pan shot, and this glittering effect takes place in the reeds, and then the camera comes to a halt on the fisherman, and we return to this nice looking clean image. And so I began to conclude that the sensor on the Canon EOS M50 is super sensitive, and when you go to make those pan shots, it's capturing stuff, and if you don't have the right setting, it is going to just pick up every little thing, and it's not going to compute it right in the recording. And so I had a breakthrough moment in light of this experience, in which I was watching people do slow motion footage, and I decided, well, I'm going to try to do some slow motion and see if I can make the slow motion effect, take these glittering effects out, take any handheld, you know, you'll still see them, but maybe they'll be smoother and usable in a video. And so what happened was I went out and I started filming at 60 frames per second with the shutter speed at 1/125, and this was the shot that I got, and you can imagine my surprise. So as you can see, things are different at 60 frames per second. It's capturing everything that it needs to capture while it's in motion. And that was the effect that I was looking for. And to this point, I haven't seen anyone talk about doing that with the Canon EOS M50. Everyone else is talking about cinematic footage, 24 frames per second. I have it set at 24 frames per second. I'm doing these shots and they look positively terrible. And so after filming at 60 frames per second, now I understand, for my own personal preference, I will film my vlogging parts at 24 frames per second. But when I'm doing B-roll, I want to, for the time being, set it at 60 frames per second and just capture footage that's not doing this jittery motion, and it's really, the image stabilization looks a lot. And with that, I will leave you with this slow motion video that I just so happened to make. And with any luck, we will see you on the next video. So that's the way things are going today.